Let's learn Torah with our commentator of the year, Rashi, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki. Most famous Torah commentary there is, I think, or at least it's the foundational Torah commentary for so many other commentators who relate to what Rashi said, who know what Rashi taught, and who either agreed or disagreed often with Rashi. The very first verse of the Torah reads, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. When God began, in the beginning, however you want to translate Bereshit, Genesis 1:1, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Now, on a very straightforward level, we receive information about the creation of the cosmos, creation of the universe. Rashi will ask, sharing a lesson of his teacher, one of his teachers of Torah, saying in the name of his teacher to live up to what Pirkei Avot says about sharing Torah in the name of someone you learned it from and receiving zechut, merit for that act of attribution. The Torah did not need to start this way. Ela mea chodesh hazeh lechem. Rather, it could have started from the mitzvah of sanctify these new moons and start counting Jewish people on Jewish time. So that's the first mitzvah, Rashi will say. Shehi mitzvah rishona, to intercalate according to the cycle of lunar months. Uma ta'am patach b'vereshit. What's then the meaning? What's the reason why it began with this book of Genesis? Now, we had a community Torah study with Rashi on this week's Parsha on Monday, and in an exchange of ideas between Mark Ashley and myself, Mark brought up the point, which some do, that here is commentary, in a way acts like a literary preface. And I was remarking that, of course, Rashi did not write a preface or a hakdama, because that, as a literary feature, a construction, a part of a commentary, that really was not developed yet. There was no such thing as a preface. The Ramban, who we studied last year, made remarks before each of the books of the Torah. Others in the Spanish theater will, but Rashi did not. But here, it kind of acts like a preface to say, the entire Torah is not only about the cosmos and creation and mitzvot for the Jewish people, like keep this lunar calendar. The Torah is really about the drama of the Jewish people moving as a family, as a people, out of slavery into the promised land of Israel. And that there's no one who can argue with the God of the universe about the Jewish people's rights and the Jewish people's inheritance of that land of Israel. And so Rabbi Yitzchak's take on the creation story is to say that just like every other nation of the world, all the families of the earth have a national story that begins with the understanding that from the beginning, they have a sense of their own peoplehood and their own nationalist story. And from the beginning, there's a unique space on the globe, a place on the globe for that particular family of the earth. So to the Jewish people, heavens and earth as witness, as Moses will say in his poetry at the end of the book of Deuteronomy. And he'll bring back this Shemayim va'aretz, this heaven and earth theme. He'll bring them as witnesses. And he says, witness this. The Jewish people were promised Israel. The Jewish people, as part of the cosmic design, as part of the great scheme of the universe, have a right to the promised land, and no one can say otherwise. That is, L'teit lahem nachalat goyim, to give them a heritage like other nations, teaches Rabbi Yitzchak, who Rashi brings forward, She'im yomru umot haolam, that if the nations of the world will say LiYisrael, to Israel, Listim atem, you've stolen this land, this promised land of Israel, Shekavashtem artzot shiva goyim, that you had to wage this war, and you actually went and waged war upon these peoples who live there. Hem omrim lahem, the Jewish people can say, Kol ha'aretz shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu hi. The entire globe is really God's. And God implanted and stitched within peoples a heritage and a right to a place on earth. And that place for the Jewish people is the ancient land of Canaan, the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel included. There would be those, according to this commentary, who would challenge our rightful claim to the land. And of course, if you don't come from the framework of godly promises really proving the claim, then we're left with the question, still, what is at stake here by way of the Torah, starting with the creation story? What's at stake here is that we can reach back out to the other families of the universe, of the world, of the entire globe, and say to them, just like you have your origin story, just like you have your way of explaining creation and your place within it, so do we. And this incredible heritage that we have in our Torah that stems back thousands of years truly explains why and how we landed in that very spot and even had to fight for our right to be in that promised land. And so there's a moral compass for the Jewish people, a mitzvah compass for the Jewish people, and a fitting into the entire scheme of creation, knowing our place in the cosmos and how to interact with the families of the earth, how to answer them when we're either challenged about our place on the globe as a people, so that we go not only from a diasporic and a people beyond borders to a people with borders, or a way to tell the story. What do you make of the story of creation being at the beginning of the Torah? Is there another reason why the Torah doesn't just start with the Abraham story? If not, the story of this new moon will be for you a way of intercalating your years that we get in Exodus chapter 12. Would love to hear your thoughts, receive an email from you. I think Rashi not only brings us a wonderful commentary, but oftentimes leaves us with very good questions. Shabbat Shalom.